Devon Jatho, known for the masterpiece of editing which he has created, the Devon Jatho editing style. Advanced modern text styles, simple captivating UI animations, and major animations that are a piece of art. But for a beginner or intermediate editor, all of this stuff is very overwhelming. There's just way too much to learn. So how can an editor learn how to create the Devon Jatho editing style? Well, today I'm going to show you how the Devon Jatho editing style is actually really simple. You see, this editing style is actually built on a 5-step simple process: inspiration, setup, text and hooks, major animations, and sound design. And in this video, I'm going to show you how a complex editing style like Devon Jatho can be broken down so that even beginner editors can understand how it is made. And to do this, we're going to be taking this raw short over here and first collecting inspiration, then we'll go over the Devon Jatho text, then we'll design and animate a hook animation, and finally we'll create Devon Jatho styled UI animations for the body, so that by the end of this video, you'll know how to edit like the Devon Jatho editing style. And before you get overwhelmed, I'm going to be breaking things down in a very beginner-friendly way so that you can understand how professionals create these editing styles. And if you want to learn how to edit the viral editing styles of 2025 in step-by-step beginner-friendly masterclasses, check out Ultimate Editors. We've got masterclasses covering every viral editing style out there in 2025. The link is going to be down below. To better understand the Devon Jatho editing style, let's spend a few seconds breaking it down and collecting inspiration. Let's address the elephant in the room: the high-quality text. Devon's text falls into two categories: the basic text and the special text. The basic text is white text with a casted shadow behind it, and the special text is made up of a gradient, white edges, and depth. Now, setting the text aside, what else do we notice? Devon actually uses 3 kinds of animations in his videos. First are the most obvious UI animations, when he animates his actions in Instagram. Second is the more complex animations that he reuses throughout the video, and these are made up of high-quality elements and react to what is happening in the video. And finally, third is your usual on-screen UI animations: simple shapes, rounded corners, gradients, and glows. As for sound design and music, based on his shorts, we can see that he uses trendy music going around Instagram, mainly focusing on songs with beats and synthesizers. And the style of his sound design is very high-tech, sci-fi, and advanced. And that sums it up. Now, with all this, we painted a full picture of what the Devon Jatho editing style actually looks like. So let's go ahead and get started on phase 1 of creating the Devon Jatho editing style, which is collecting inspiration. Collecting inspiration is by far the phase that most editors overlook, but it is the phase responsible for guiding you through the editing style. Let me quickly show you guys how to collect inspiration for an edit. First, you want to boot up a program like Figma where you can have a clean whiteboard. As we mentioned, the things which make up the Devon Jatho editing style are the special text, major animations, UI animations, and on-screen animations. So I'll put these as titles on my pages. And now all I gotta do is head over to Devon Jatho's videos and take a screenshot of each element and bring it into here. Grab a bunch of screenshots of text and place them here. Grab a bunch of screenshots of animations and place them here. And when you do this a bunch of times, you'll have a board with examples of all the elements that make up your editing style. For the editors discovering this for the first time, if you really want to know the art of collecting inspiration and the secrets behind my creativity as an editor, I've made tons of courses on this stuff inside of Ultimate Editors. And you can get access to these beginner-friendly courses which break down complex editing topics inside of Ultimate Editors. The link is going to be down below. Now, how do we actually use this inspiration board as video editors? Well, we actually use it to plan out the animation we want to make. So personally, I'll bring in my short script into this board and then start thinking, okay, in the hook, Devon Jatho uses this, so what can I use? For our hook, I decided to go with 2 UI boxes inspired by the scene he made here. For the body, it's got 3 sections interrupted by filler phrases, which means this gives us room for 3 different animations. For our first one, I took inspiration from the selector animation that Devon uses. For the second one, I decided to take inspiration from his Instagram UI, and for the last one, I decided to mimic some on-screen UI animations that he uses as well. This way, I can teach you guys all 3 different kinds of animations he makes. Now, in this video, I am going to be covering how to create the Devon Jatho style text, this unique UI pop-up animation, and this full-screen Devon Jatho style selector animation. And in our next video, I'll be sure to go over the Instagram UI and the on-screen UI animations so you guys don't miss a single thing. And with our inspiration phase finally complete, we have a full plan of everything we want to create inside of the edit. And now it's finally time to just execute, which brings us into our second phase. Since we're starting with a completely raw short, the first step is very clear and simple. Cut out all silences and generate subtitles. Only then can we bring everything into After Effects and then create all the advanced effect that Devon Jatho uses. So we're going to start by booting up Premiere Pro and bringing in our raw footage. And step 1 is to create the cuts. So we're going to use our razor tool to cut right after I finish my sentence and before I start my next one. And by cutting out the silences and the gaps in between, we successfully remove silences from our videos. Now we just gotta do this for the rest of the short, removing all the silences. Now these are what I call a basic cut, but there's a way to make these 10 times better by turning them into J-cuts. A J-cut is where we hold down Alt, drag our video back a little, and then overlap the cut just like this. This cut feels smoother because the audio starts first and then the video follows. And now again, we'll do this to the entire video, going through each cut. And now with the cuts finished, it's time to make our subtitles. To create subtitles, we need to transcribe our audio, where Premiere Pro will listen into our audio track and turn it into a script. And then we need to caption our audio, where Premiere Pro will turn that script into subtitles. So first, I'm gonna go ahead and click on Windows and Text and click on Create Captions from Transcript. And then once that's done, we're going to go ahead and caption it. For the settings, I want one-word subtitles so that I can individually control them in After Effects. So I'm dropping my maximum characters all the way down and dropping the duration to 2 seconds so that they are quick subtitles. Now let's click on Transcribe and Create Captions, and Premiere Pro will create this yellow layer here we call subtitles. But this actually looks nothing like our Devon Jatho subtitles. So let's click on one of them and open up our properties window and design our Devon Jatho text. Obviously having subtitles down here isn't gonna work, so we're gonna click on the center part of our zone here. Next, I'm gonna increase the size of the font up to 100, and lastly, the obvious one, let's change the font to the one that Devon Jatho uses, which is called Tactic Sans font. Don't forget to also remove the default drop shadow that Premiere Pro adds. Alright, we're done, or so you thought. The problem with these yellow subtitle layers is that we can't actually do anything with them. Instead, we need our pink graphic layers. So we're gonna go ahead and select all of them, click on Graphics and Titles, and click on Upgrade Captions to Graphic. And finally, we have our own Devon Jatho subtitles. Now I understand as a beginner, you might feel like Premiere Pro and After Effects is very overwhelming. Trust me, I know that feeling of looking at these programs and feeling so overwhelmed you just don't know where to even start. This was actually the main reason I wanted to make the After Effects and Premiere Pro masterclasses in Ultimate Editors. I wanted to create a masterclass where we could take editors by the hand and teach them Premiere Pro and After Effects step by step in beginner-friendly courses. And by making sure our editors are advanced at Premiere Pro and After Effects, we can then teach them the complex editing styles like Devon Jatho, the Mangaji, and the Apple style animations. And you can get access to all of these masterclasses inside of Ultimate Editors. The link, as usual, is going to be down in the description below. Now with cuts complete, text generated, and setup finished, it's finally time to bring our short into After Effects and begin creating the Devon Jatho edit. To do this, we're going to select everything, right-click, and click on Replace with After Effects Composition, and then we can move into Phase 3. The first part of creating the Devon Jatho edit is editing the hook, which is going to be made up of our special text effect with a UI pop-up animation. So let's go ahead and quickly break down how we created this white text, special text, and UI animation over here. Once our footage is in After Effects, we have a bit of an issue. All those layers we brought into After Effects got pre-composed, meaning each subtitle is hidden inside of a pre-composition. Annoying, but there is a fix. We download this free plugin called Unprecompose, select all our pre-compositions, then go over to Layer, click on Unprecompose, and we're gonna get this. Quick and easy fix. As we planned out in our inspiration board, the first scene is gonna have a special text. So let's go ahead and work on this. First, I'm gonna go ahead and delete all the subtitles as I won't be needing these, and just leaving one. I'll write out the word title for now and quickly align it to the middle of the screen. Let's start by creating the base white text for Devon Jatho. First, I add in my gradient ramp and place my start and end point like so. Then I'm going to make my top color white and bottom color light gray, which gives us a simple gradient like so. Second, I need to create our casted shadow. So we're adding in a radial shadow effect and just increase the softness like so while keeping the light source in the top left. And here we go. Base text is complete. Alright, now for our special text, let's go ahead and duplicate this layer by clicking Ctrl D. And first we're adding in the 4-color gradient, which creates a gradient of 4 colors. Then we're spreading the 4 points like so. And now for our colors, this is gonna change, but let's use green for an example. I'll make one of them green and then use my eyedropper tool to make all of them green. Then I'll go through each one and add a little variation. One is lighter, one is yellow, and one is darker. This gives us a beautiful gradient. Get used to this pattern. This is how you make really good gradients in After Effects. You use one main color and then vary between lighter and darker values. We're going to be doing this a lot in the edit. Now finally, to create a white edge, we're going to add in our light sweep effect, place it in the middle of the text, and since we don't want the sweep, we're going to make the sweep intensity 0 and play around with the thickness and intensity of the edge to get the edge that we want. And of course, the final piece of touch, deep glow. We add in the deep glow effect and tone it down to 0.2. And just like that, we have our base white text and our special text for Devon Jatho. For the base text, we use gradient ramp and radial shadow. And for the special text, we use 4-color gradient, light sweep, and deep glow. And for this specific intro, I'm going to be writing out the words algorithm to go go viral. So first up, I'm gonna write out the word algorithm here and write out the words to go viral here. And I'm gonna change these to italic and resize them accordingly. Finally, select both texts and bring them down to our lower thirds here, and there we go. Text is complete. Now the next step is creating this icon that comes in and actually shatters our text. Let's go ahead and build this out. First, we're gonna need an icon, so we head over to flat icon and download the share icon here. Once it's in After Effects, we obviously don't want a black icon, so we gotta design this bad boy. To be fair, I had a bit of a weird moment where I didn't like the color green, so I ended up changing it to purple, which is a decision I'm going to regret in just a moment. To design the icon, we start with a 4-color gradient and use a purple color. Then we go lighter, darker, and more white. To create a nice edge, just like we did with the text, we add a light sweep, decrease the sweep intensity, and play around with the thickness and intensity to get a nice edge. Now we also want to finish off with a glow, but this is an icon, so After Effects is not going to let us have good things in life. So we added an adjustment layer, add a glow, pre-compose these layers together, which creates a full deep glow on it, and finally go into our pre-composition and decrease the deep glow. Alright, now let's animate this thing. And the first thing we want is for this icon to slide in from the left side. So first we move 1 second in and keyframe both our rotation and position. Then we move back and start it off to the left, and even start it with a little rotation like so. Then just go into our graph and make sure this thing starts fast and then slows down. Now once the icon slides in, it's time to work on our next part. At 4 seconds, we know it's going to come down and shatter this text, so we go to the 4-second mark and move it to its end position. But this creates a straight path. So we click on our pen tool, add a point right in the middle and extend it. And then click on our cursor and bring it up to here, which gives us a rounded path for the animation. And this is by far the easiest way to make rounded path animations in After Effects. Now let's go ahead and smoothen out this animation, which is where things get a little confusing. In our speed graph, we're going to start it slow, and before it hits the top, we're going to slow it down just a little. And then before it starts coming down, we're also going to have it start slow and then finally speed back up towards the end. With a bit of refinement and playing around, we should end up with a speed graph that looks like this, giving us this smooth animation. If you guys also want a full tutorial on animations, just let me know, I'll go ahead and make one. Now finally, let's go ahead and move to where the icon reaches its peak, add a keyframe for this orientation, and then move to the end and orient it down. And of course, make sure to smoothen this animation in the speed graph. I know we went through that pretty quickly, but it should be alright, because our next part is making the text shatter, which actually is a pretty easy effect to make in After Effects. First, let's go ahead and right click and add in an adjustment layer and add the shatter effect on our adjustment layer. Now I know it looks weird, but if we go to our view and change it to rendered, it should look good. Let's make sure this adjustment layer is only on top of our text layers, and right now it's shattering both text and background. So if we select the adjustment layer and the text and pre-compose them together, it's only going to affect the text. Now we obviously don't want bricks pattern, so let's go into the pattern and change it to glass, change the repetitions to 15, tone down force 1 strength to 2, and this still looks really basic. So let's go down to physics, set the gravity to 0.5 so that the particles fly out instead of down, and finally make it a bit more stiff by increasing our viscosity. Pro tip, we actually don't want our shatter effect affecting our glow, so all we gotta do is go into our pre-composition, remove the deep glow from inside, go back to our main composition and add it to the whole shatter pre-composition. This way even the particles get a nice glow after breaking. Now remember how I said I'd regret the purple color? Yeah. This doesn't look good. Let's go into my text, switch this out to a blue theme, varying between light blue and dark blue, and let's take our icon and also make it a bluish icon varying with those same colors too. There we go. Our text and icon animations look absolutely stunning. And with this done, there's one final piece to making this intro hook animation look amazing, and it is this UI pop-up animation. And you guys are gonna find this really easy, so let's go ahead and teach you guys how to make high quality UI in the Devon Jatho style. Going back to our inspiration board, these are the 2 UI boxes I want to create for this section. Breaking it down, it seems to be a rounded box with a light edge and a pixelated icon and a glow. Seems easy, let's go ahead and make it. First, we're gonna add in a shape layer and then draw out a simple square, center the anchor point, center align it, increase the roundness in the properties until it is round. Now we're going to go ahead and color this with a 4-color gradient, putting the points in each corner and varying between gray, light gray, and dark gray like so. Main shape is done, let's go ahead and create the white edge. Let's start by duplicating this rounded square shape layer here and remove all the effects so that we just have this shape. Now I'm adding in my light sweep so that I can see the sweep and then changing the blending mode to screen. Since the square is black and the light sweep is white, changing the blending mode to screen means only the light values are going to be visible, which means only the light screen is going to be visible. This allows us to drop the sweep intensity to get rid of that sweep and play around with the edge thickness and intensity to get a nice edge. Then let's duplicate the effect in our layer and orient it in the opposite direction to create a second edge. Finally, with this layer, we'll add in a deep glow and tone it down to 0.2, giving us a beautiful edge. There we go. The UI is done. Now let's move on to the icon. We're going over to flat icon and I'm going to go ahead and download 2 of these blue themed icons I found in a pack. Let's add one of them into After Effects and size it down here. And now I want to do 2 things. Make it pixelated and give give it a glow. So let's start by adding in the mosaic effect, which is going to give me this pixelated look. And then to add a glow, we add in the adjustment layer, add a deep glow to it, pre-compose it with the icon layer, and go into our pre-comp and tone down the deep glow. Finally guys, the last part of this UI is we need to add in that casted shadow, which we all know and love. To do this, we got to duplicate our square layer, delete the effects that are on it so that we just have a black square, and then we're going to add in the radial fast blur effect, which creates this zoom blur look. And if we put our source in the top left, we're going to get this casted shadow. And finally, we just got to put this under our UI. And there you go, a nice and easy way to make high quality UI inside of After Effects. Main shape layer, colors, light edge, icon, and casted shadow, which means we can now move into animating it. I want all of these layers to just be controlled by one layer. So I'm going to go ahead and parent all of these layers to this main square shape layer here. And then I'm going to scale this layer down to here since it controls everything now. To create our animation, we're going to keyframe our position here, move back and start it lower. And inside our speed graph, we're going to make sure it starts fast and then slows down. To finish this animation, we want everything to fade in. So we click on all the layers, click on T to bring up the opacity, keyframe the opacity at 100 and move it to the end, and then start them all at an opacity of 0. This is going to give us a nice and simple pop-in, fade-in, like so. With one UI complete, it's finally time to create the second UI. Now all we got to do is select all 4 of these layers, duplicate them using Ctrl D, and place them on top. And for our second duplicate, we obviously got to change the icon, which means we add in a new icon, add the mosaic effect, and add the glow adjustment layer, and then pre-compose it into a new pre-comp and simply scale it down into our UI. Now with both UIs in the timeline, I'm turning on my proportion grid, then selecting the shape layers which control each UI, and then clicking on A to bring up the anchor point and simply align each one on one side like so. And check this out. To make this UI animation even nicer, I'm gonna have one of them pop up before the second one by moving the second UI layers back a little. And right here, our hook is actually complete. So I'm taking all of these layers and cutting them with Ctrl-Shift-D. And with this entire hook animated, we get to the last part, which is adding in the zoom ins. Add in an adjustment layer, add a transform effect, start with a keyframe at the beginning. Then once the icon comes in, we're going to go up to 110 in scale. Then once the break happens, we're going to go up to 120. And then after the break, we're going to bounce back out to 100. In our speed graph, just make sure that we smoothen this animation and let's see how this hook animation turned out. Now, if you felt like I was moving through this very quickly, almost too quickly for you to learn, it is because I am. I understand that as an intermediate or beginner editor, you might feel like these editing styles are overwhelming, like there's too much to learn. This is why having a professional grab you by the hand and walk you through this step by step, teaching you how to collect inspiration, teaching you what effects to use to achieve certain looks, and teaching you how to create the complex animations is essential. And if you feel like this is something you need, then you're looking for Ultimate Editors, the video editing community where I'm creating in-depth, beginner-friendly masterclasses that teach you everything about the viral editing styles of 2025. I'll teach you how to edit like Devon Jatho, Josh Leon, Iman Gaji, Houston Cold, Apple style, and even my own editing style. And in each masterclass, we don't just give you what you can find on YouTube. We break down everything. We break down the editing styles, teach you its unique fundamentals, create basic animations up until we can create the complex animations that used to intimidate you. And sometimes as editors, there might have been stuff that you didn't actually get to learn in After Effects or Premiere Pro. So we'll teach you everything about these programs in more beginner-friendly masterclasses. But what if you have questions? Well, our 24/7 live community and 3 weekly coaching calls will make sure we answer any questions you might have as an editor. So let's get this straight. Inside of Ultimate Editors, we've got beginner-friendly courses on Premiere Pro, After Effects, the 6 viral editing styles of 2025, client acquisition, 3 weekly coaching calls, 24/7 live community support, and monthly editing competitions, and all of this was designed with beginner editors in mind? Yes. So if you want to completely master the viral editing styles of 2025 and the most beginner-friendly editing courses on the market, then check out Ultimate Editors. The link is going to be down below. This is going to be the best time for you to join as we're adding more and more masterclasses every single month inside of Ultimate Editors. The link is going to be down below. With the hook out of the way, it's time to begin working on the first of our 3 major animations. The first animation is a beautiful 4-part UI with a dynamic interactive cursor. Let's go ahead and break it down before we start building it. To make this animation, we can see a blue background, simple rounded squares for the UI, a faded out number in the top left, an icon in each UI, and text at the bottom. This should be easy, so let's go ahead and build this. Let's get started by making the background. We add in a solid layer and use the 4-color gradient. Let's make the top left a dark gray. Let's make all of them the same gray, and then simply make one lighter, one darker, and one way darker. All right, now let's go ahead and work on the UI. First, we add in a shape layer, draw out a square, and round up the corners. Add a 4-color gradient and vary the colors between gray and light blue. Finally, add a drop shadow and change the colors to white to get this lip around the square. Now that the base of our UI is built, let's make our faded number. by adding in a text layer, writing out the number 1, resizing it, and placing it up here. Now it's time to add our gradient ramp and place my start point here and my end point here. Then let's change the blending mode of our numbers to screen and swap our colors, blend our lighter colors a little bit more, and you're gonna get this faded number. Base UI is done, number it's done. Now let's get to work on the icon. Back in flat icon, let's go ahead and download this brain icon, a folder icon, a globe icon, and a laptop icon. Let's bring the brain into After Effects and scale it down to here, and start by coloring it with a 4-color gradient, varying between lighter blue values, and add an edge to it using the light sweep effect with no sweep intensity. Icon done, let's go and move on to the text. Start by adding in your text layer, write out the word analysis, and use the Tactic Sans font and place your text down here. Now copy the 4-color gradient from the brain and paste it on the text, but realign the gradient position. Now the final step is going to be creating our text highlight, but before we do this, we actually need to create a box that limits where our text is visible. To do this, I'm going to duplicate my main square shape layer and delete the effects on it so it's just white. If we took this layer and track matte the number 1 to it, and we move the number 1 out of the square, you can see it's only visible in the square shape layer. So now duplicate this text layer, remove the fill, add a stroke, and make it 1 pixel big. Let's size it up and place it here, then track matte this to our shape layer placeholder, making it only appear inside the UI. Finally, replace your full color gradient with a gradient ramp and change your blending mode to screen. And ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Base UI, icon, text, and text highlight all complete. Now we're just gonna need something that controls the position of all these layers so that we only have to worry about one layer. So we add a null object, parent all these layers to this null object, meaning this one layer will now control the entire UI, which of course brings us to the final step, animating the UI. I'm gonna go ahead and add a keyframe for the position, move back, and start it slightly lower, and smooth it out in the speed graph, giving us a simple pop-in. Finally, select all the layers, click on T, keyframe the opacity ending at 100% and starting at 0, giving us a simple fade in. Now our UI is built and pops in and fades in like so. Now we just gotta duplicate this same UI 3 more times and we'll have 4 UIs. Sounds simple. I decided to color these layers to know which of them are my UI. Then I'm going to duplicate these layers and move them to the top and change their colors so that I can see which one is our second UI. But remember, our second UI has to have a different icon and different text. So let's add in a new icon and just copy and paste the same effects on it. The colors, the light sweep edge, and the size and position. And simply change your main text to organize and the secondary highlight to organize, and you're good to go. 2 UIs done, time for the third one. Once again, duplicate, move to the top, change the color, add the new icon, switch it out, and change the text to health. And finally, one last time, duplicate, move to the top, change the color, add the new icon, switch it out, and change the text to security. With this done, 4 UI layers are complete, each with an animation and each parented to a null object that controls it. Now let's take the null objects that control them, click on S and scale them down. Let's open our proportional grid, click on A to bring up our null objects anchor points, and align our 4 UIs like so. Once again, we're using the anchor point because we actually have keyframes on our position which we don't want to affect. And the cherry on top, these all have pop-in animations, so move each batch of UI to start sequentially, this way they all start after each other. This animation is, believe it or not, almost done. We just have a few final touches to do. The next thing I want to do is I want these UIs to glow up as we talk about them. So I'm going to add in an adjustment layer on top of my blue layers, which is our first UI, and cut it so that it's a small section. Let's add a deep glow to it and make the exposure 0.1. And now to make it glow up and then dim out, I add a keyframe for the 0.1 exposure, move back and start it at 0. Move forward and end it at 0 as well. And this gives us a simple glow like this. Now we just gotta duplicate it, put it on top of our next UI, making sure it starts later than the first glow, and do it again for our third UI and again for our fourth UI. Finally, let's select every batch of UI and its glow and pre-compose it, and do this to all of the UIs, and we have a clean looking timeline. After you pre-compose multiple layers, it always feels like you just took a very deep breath and relaxed. It's amazing. But with this done, there's one final thing to do before this animation is over. The final piece of this animation is creating the cursor and the dynamic shadow. And this is actually going to be a lot easier than you think. So let's go ahead and make it happen. First, we're going to need a cursor, which we can get from flat icons, and bring it into After Effects. Then we're going to add the gradient ramp and make the top color a light gray and bottom color a blue. And if we size it down, we end up with a nice looking cursor. Now let's have it start down here. Click on P and keyframe its position and place the keyframe at the beginning. Now right around here, I'm going to have it go all the way up to our first UI, and finally select the pen tool and add a point right here. Then just bend the path like so, this way it hits the number 3 UI before it gets to number 1, and finally smoothen this animation out in the speed graph. Now once the cursor is up here, to animate a click, all we have to do is keyframe the current scale, move forward and make it smaller, and move forward and bring it back up, giving us a simple click animation. After the click, I'm just going to click on T, keyframe the opacity, and have it fade out. So cursor moves in, clicks, and fades out. After this click happens, I need this first UI to scale in while everything else fades out, and this is going to be really easy. This is where the click happens, so we're going to keyframe the position and scale of our pre-comp position. To start our animation here, simply move forward after the click and scale it up to the middle of the screen. And make sure to smoothen this movement and match the peaks. And as this animation happens, I'm going to have all the pre-comp positions fade out using their main opacity as the main UI comes in. And for the cherry on top, let's go ahead and add a glow to the cursor, add an adjustment layer, add a deep glow on it, and pre-compose it with the cursor. Alright, I saved the best part for last. To create this dynamic shadow that interacts with our cursor, first we take our UI layers, duplicate all of them and pre-compose them. Now we have a duplicate of the UI. We're going to add in a radial fast blur to get this zoom in look. Finally, we need something that controls where this blur is visible, so we add a shape layer, draw out the perfect circle in the middle, and track matte our radial fast blur pre-comp to our white circle. This way we can control where the radial fast blur is visible. The edges are rough though, so let's add a Gaussian blur to our circle and increase it all the way. And finally, we also want to make this radial fast blur interactive with our shape layer. Since it's controlled by a center, we parent the center of the position to our ellipse so that the circle position is also the center of the casted shadow. Finally, just go here, add a keyframe for the circle here with the cursor, move forward and end the ellipse with the cursor. Now go ahead and finish this off with some zooms and you'll end up with this amazing UI animation for the body. And this is what high quality Devon Jatho UI animations look like. And with this complete, you now know how to create the Devon Jatho text, the UI hook animation, and a very dynamic interactive Devon Jatho body animation. But all of this, and we've only scratched the surface of the editing style. If you really want to be able to edit viral animations like Devon Jatho, you need our step-by-step masterclasses at Ultimate Editors where I break down every little detail there is to this editing style. We've got courses on collecting inspiration, planning animations, text styles, text effects, text animations, UI animations, advanced UI, selector animations, and 3D iPhone UI animations, and much more. There is just so much more than you get with these YouTube videos. And all of these courses are super beginner friendly, meaning even if you just started video editing, this is going to be very easy for you to understand. Not to mention, we do the same kind of breakdown to 5 other viral editing styles. Editors, trust me when I say this, if you really want to master video editing and become the editor that knows how to edit the viral editing styles of 2025, there's no better place than Ultimate Editors. We've got courses on Premiere Pro, After Effects, the 6 viral editing styles, client acquisition courses, 3 weekly coaching calls, 24/7 live community support, monthly editing competitions, and much more, all built for beginner editors like you. Our aim is to make Ultimate Editors the best editing community in 2025. And to do this, we're adding brand new masterclasses every single month. Yes, you heard this right. We've built Ultimate Editors for editors like you. Check it out. The link is going to be down in the description below. Join Ultimate Editors. And on that note, thank you so much for watching all the way till the end of the video. God bless each and every single one of you guys, seriously. And if you enjoyed these more fast-paced videos, please let me know down below. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, please. And thank you guys so much for 100,000 subscribers. It's still insane to this day. I'll catch you guys in the next video, but in the meantime, you can feel free to watch one of these 2 videos over here, which are just as valuable as the one which you just completed. Thanks a lot for watching all the way till the end. I'll see you guys next time.